Namo Buddhaya, Namaskar, Tashidele. Happy Wesak to all my brothers and sisters in the Dharma. Um, it's a very important day in the Buddhist calendar. It's a very important day for humanity. We are celebrating the birth, the enlightenment, and the passing away, the Mahaparinirvana of the historical Buddha Shakyamuni. Um, I'm not too sure about what has happened in the past 2600 years with regards to how we celebrate Wesak, but this year is unique. I wouldn't say that it is restrictive. I wouldn't say that it is dull. I wouldn't want to make any value judgment on the kind of Vesak that we are celebrating this year. But I would just like to say that it is different from the ways that we have been celebrating all these years. We are not going out and gathering in large numbers as we have been doing in the past all the years. Ever since I can remember, Wesak has always been a public gathering, and this year, Wesak is a quiet affair at home, online. So, thinking about this brings to mind the Buddha's teaching of impermanence, that nothing stays the same. Everything is always changing. Even the way we celebrate Wesak is not spared. Even that too is changing, and it has changed. So, therefore, the situation that we are in this world right now has compelled us to reflect on many things, on our mortality, on our vulnerability, on the way that we live, the way that we have been treating Mother Nature and everyone in it, and the way that we have been living our lives, chasing after something or other, never stopping. So a tiny little virus, a minuscule virus, has actually compelled us to stop. In fact, it has forced the whole world to stop. And I know that is a cliche that everyone has been talking about it. I've got nothing further to add actually to all the teachers. The reason why I'm actually speaking this Wesak Day is not to repeat what the great masters have already said, all the many teachers that have already said. In fact, so much has been said since the virus came about into this world, and since the lockdown in many different countries. So I don't know actually what I should be actually saying, which has not already been said. But since I've been requested to say something by uh, friends who have always been listening to me on Wesak Day, and this year I do not have the opportunity to have a face-to-face gathering with my Dharma brothers and sisters. So I was actually hesitating to record this video, this message, because I don't think I have anything really significant to add to what the great masters have already said, to what the Buddha Shakyamuni has already said. But still, because of the requests that have been made, I am going to try to say something which would bring benefit to all of you. It's actually a very difficult time in this world, I'm sure everybody knows. But yet, at the same time, difficulty and happiness, sadness and happiness are two sides of the same coin, isn't it? Yeah, we have always been seeing life in one way. We have not been hit very hard by emergency, war in many countries. In where I live, Malaysia, we have been relatively peaceful for the past 50 years. Yeah. So, so sometimes it takes, we need an awakening. We need reminders from time to time that we are impermanent, that things can happen that will change our lives completely, that it cannot be business as usual. all the time. So there has to come a time when we are actually forced to reflect on our lives. So how is this similar to the Buddha Shakyamuni? We have some similarity in the way that we are actually compelled to think about life, and the way that the historical Buddha, our teacher, actually looked at life. I I'm actually reflecting on how he was forced to think about death, old age, sickness, and he was actually shielded by his father, King Shuddhadan. So he was actually shielded by his father, and he never actually got the opportunity to see death, sickness, and old age. Everything was hidden away from him. So how can his Prince Siddharth's life be similar to what we have been experiencing and how we have been living? In my personal experience, being in under the Movement Control Order (MCO) in Malaysia since 18th of March 2020, and today we're celebrating Wesak Day, which is the 7th of May 2020. So it has been almost 50 days now. In fact, I think today is the 50th day that we are under some sort of a movement control order. We are not allowed to go out. We are not allowed to go to work. I'm not allowed to go out and go to any temple, see my Dharma brothers and sisters, and also I'm only allowed to go and get a few groceries and come home very quickly, and that too very sparingly within a 10-kilometer radius. So we all know that, yeah. So we have all been compelled to change our lifestyle. But what made us change this lifestyle? What made Prince Siddharth actually change his life? What made him contemplate and think about things? He was forced to think about things when finally reality hit him very hard in the face, because he was shielded from all the pain and suffering that others experience in this world. So, in a way, Malaysians too have been shielded, and those of us who live in relatively affluent countries with no or very little experience of conflict, war, natural disasters, we have taken things for granted. Just like Prince Siddhartha took things for granted that everything is a bed of roses. We are very happy, living a very nice life. And then suddenly he went out of the confines of his palace one day, and then he saw uh, these images which actually woke him up from his deep slumber, the deep sleep of ignorance, thinking that everything is beautiful, the world is permanent, people are going to be forever young, there is no sickness. He didn't even know that there's such a thing as death. We know, we know, we are not as shielded as Prince Siddharth was. We know about birth, we know about sickness, we know about death, we know about old age. So, why is it that we are still living our lives as if we are never going to die, as if we are never going to become old, as if we are never going to become sick? And it always happens to someone else, doesn't it? But never to us. So it's like there's war in this world, it's always some other person's country. So it's like we heave a sigh of relief that, okay, terrible wars are happening in Yemen and Syria and many other countries, conflict in Afghanistan and many other countries experiencing natural disasters, deep poverty, and many unfortunate beings actually are in slavery, prostitution, child labor, and living in utter misery, sexually exploited. And many of them are actually living in virtual hell at the moment. And they are constantly tormented by suffering, constantly tormented by harm inflicted by others. They have no opportunity to even hear the word of the Buddha, not much less practice the Dharma. All these conditions have not come to us. Or it may have come to us, but we have probably, we may have experienced it a short time and then after that forgotten about it. And then we go back to business as usual. What do I mean by business as usual? Meaning that we go out to work, we go out and then we earn a day's living. and then we save, and then we go to work again the next day, and then we save our money, and then we go shopping during the weekends with our family. So our main focus is on our work, on our family, which is fantastic, which is great, which is what we should be doing. We should be taking care of our own affairs first before we go out helping the world. But unfortunately, most of us stop short at that. We think only about our own sustenance, and we think only about our own progress. And much of our life is actually spent on pursuing happiness tomorrow, which means that we go to work today so that we can get money tomorrow. We go to work today so that we can get money at the end of the month. Then we invest in our children's future so that they will be happy in the future. Someone will be We are always keeping our happiness for the future, so which we have never actually learned how to live in the present moment. Our happiness is always in the future. So Prince Siddharth's happiness, even though it wasn't in the future, he was very happy, but his happy was actually ignorance is bliss. His happiness as a prince was not genuine happiness. He was actually living in the present moment, but a very shielded life without understanding the reality of the world. Now we understand the reality of the world. We have seen all these conflicts on TV. We have seen our environmental climate change degradation that is going on. We know that we have got a very short, very narrow window of opportunity to save the planet and to save everyone on it. Yet we go about living our lives as if that we can live the same lifestyle, going to work and then exploiting the resources, and never actually and it's like as if the resources are infinite, that the resources are going to be there forever, and we can continue consuming the same way that we have been doing for the past 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. Keep on using our cars, keep on emitting fossil fuels, and then keep on you know uh, consuming as much as we did, never reflecting on the excessive consumption patterns that we have actually made a part of our lives. So what I'm trying to say is that even though we know that there is suffering, even though we know that there is climate change, even though we know that people are that actually this world is impermanent, everything on it in it is impermanent, that we are definitely going to die, death is certain, life is uncertain, the time, place, and the circumstances of our death are uncertain, but yet death will definitely occur to us. So why is it that we have been living life the way that we have been living all this time, never stopping, always on the move, doing something or other? Even under the guise of Dharma practitioners, also most of us actually chase after something or other, sustenance. And under the guise of sustenance, we chase after worldly goods, worldly affairs. So what should we do actually? Should we just um, give up everything like Prince Siddhartha once he found out that the world is full of suffering, and go into the forest and experience hardship for 6 years and then become enlightened? So is that what we are all supposed to be doing? um, Buddha, when he was enlightened, he never actually encouraged us to actually l- abandon life. He expected us to live life, but live it meaningfully. So when we say that we are celebrating the birth, enlightenment, and the passing away of the historical Buddha, the Buddha did not ask everyone to become monks. The Buddha did not ask everyone to actually give up everything and run into the forest. What the Buddha was actually saying is that give up. What should we actually be giving up? We are not changing our clothes, and wearing the clothes of a monk or a nun does not actually guarantee that we will actually attain enlightenment. It's actually giving us the support, that it is actually a sign that we are taking the first step towards enlightenment, and we need the support of our sangha brothers and sisters and the laity to help us to attain enlightenment. It doesn't mean that the sangha is already enlightened the day that we don the robes of a sangha. And the Buddha did not expect everyone to actually don the robes of the Sangha, only then you're on the path to Nirvana. That's not true. What the Buddha expected was for us to give up. What should we give up? We should give up, first and foremost, clinging on to things as if they're permanent. You know, we should, I wouldn't say that we should give up all our desires, but we should give up actually clinging to things as if they're permanent. We should actually give up cruelty, the hatred, greed. So when I say clinging, I'm actually talking about greed, excessive attachment to something which we know that it is impermanent, and yet we grasp onto it as if it's permanent. So we should actually give up four states of mind that the Buddha said. And if we can actually give up this four, then we would actually be living a life which is truly in the present moment. So what are these four? The first is when something bad happens to us, we experience something we don't like, we immediately have aversion. So which means we are pushing things away. So giving up this mind that we don't like something and we push it away, that's the first thing that we give up. The second thing we give up is clinging on to things that we like. So actually clinging on to things that we like actually does make, if we don't get something that we like, we start to dislike. So in fact, liking something, which means that being attached to something, leads us to cling to something. So that is the second noble truth, isn't it? So the first noble truth is that the Buddha did say that that all conditioned things, all dharmas are suffering, have the nature of suffering. So what do we mean by suffering? It's not just the pain that we experience when we are hurt. It's actually the intense mental pain that we have is sometimes is even more unbearable than our physical pain. So the Buddha said that we have three types of suffering. The first type of suffering is actually the suffering that we have actually because we are desiring things in the five senses. We like good smell, good taste, good touch, everything we like. Gimme, get. I want. So that is actually desire for something. And then when we don't get it, we get frustrated. And when we get frustrated, we generate anger. And then it's like, and then when things, unpleasant things happen to us, we dislike it, so we push it away. So this pulling and pushing, these are the first two things that we actually have to give up. And then the third thing is giving up clinging to the past, going back to the past and always brooding about the past, having guilt, remorse that I could have done better in the past, and now I'm suffering. Oh, I should have been like this, I should have done like that, I could have, we actually can't go back to the past, we can't change the past. Neither can we go back to the past, and neither can we change it. So what is the point of thinking about the past? It is only going to rob us of our happiness in the present moment. So the future, that is the fourth thing, being anxious about the future. We've got so much work to do in the future that we can't even enjoy the present. So it's like the future is robbing us of our life now, our present moment. And we grow all this gray hair thinking about the future. Oh, and thinking about the future is like, even Dharma practitioners actually can get stuck in this. We think about the future, oh, I want to become a Buddha, oh, I want to become an Arhat. And then it's like you don't actually enjoy the present moment because you're too busy working for the future. Now, the Buddha never said that you have to strive to become a Buddha or strive to become an Arhat. The Buddha only said that live correctly in the present moment, enjoy the present moment, live the fullest in the present moment, and then let nature take its course. Naturally, when you walk the path of the Dharma, you don't cling, you don't hate, you know. So then you do not live in the past and you do not worry about the future. Only then you're actually naturally being carried towards nirvana. There is no need for us to be so anxious about attaining nirvana. Once we that is expectation, and expectation actually kills our happiness. What happens if we don't actually attain nirvana in this very lifetime? Then at the dying moment, what happens is that we become so anxious, so angry, so upset, so hurt, we regret, and then we are reborn in the lower realms. We become a preta. We were born as an animal, or born in an environment where our last thought actually, the negative thought propels us to be reborn. So what I'm trying to say is that the Buddha's uh, renunciation was a great renunciation. And the Buddha's great renunciation was because he needed to find a path for us, right? So now that the Buddha has already found the path for us, so all he expects us to do is to have small renunciations, small giving up small things, sacrifice small things, like sacrifice some time to live in the present moment every day. And guess what? The MCO, the movement control order, this coronavirus that everybody's is so afraid of, is the gift that we actually, in a way that we should actually accept as a as a gift rather than we can see it in two ways. Yeah, I'm not trying to be insensitive to those who are suffering and who have passed away from coronavirus, COVID-19. The virus is virulent, and it is very unfortunate that many beings have actually lost their lives, and many lives are shattered. Their family members have lost loved ones. It's very unfortunate. Having said that, there are always two sides to a coin. So on one side, if we only see the bad, the we only see how bad COVID-19 is, we will never understand the what they call that, the goodness behind COVID-19. I'm not saying that COVID-19 is good, but I'm saying that it has brought about some very important uh, lessons in our life, important opportunities which otherwise we would never have had in our lifetime, because most of us do not go through wars and natural disasters. So we will never be compelled to think about our mortality. That's one. We will never be able to sit at home locked up, and then most of us are stifled. We do not know what to do. We go crazy. But then again, it's exactly like being stuck in a it's like not being stuck in a cave. We're not stuck at home. We are at home, being with our loved ones, and sitting down and getting the opportunity to practice and be in the present moment. So if we sit down at home thinking about our lost income, which is a valid, which I'm not saying that it is not valid, yeah, it is a valid thought, that my business is closed, my job, many of us have lost our jobs. So what good, some of us can argue that what is venerable karma saying, I've lost my job, you know it's like, how can COVID-19 be something good? People are dying, people are losing their jobs, you know there's so many negative things that are associated with COVID-19. How can COVID-19 actually be a blessing? Well, it depends on our perspective, the way we think. If we think of it as something bad, it will be bad. And if it's already bad, so if it doesn't help in any way for us to keep on thinking and fearing COVID-19. Fearing it will only lead to more negative karma and no negative consequences. So the first thing that we should do is we should actually try not to uh, feed ourselves with too much news on COVID-19. How many people died today? How many new cases? And all these news, including all the fake news that came, especially at the beginning of COVID-19. There's this cure, there is that cure. Thousands of people died like flies here and there. All these very disturbing images. Now, try to dissociate yourself from the phone. Try to stop looking at BBC for at least for Wesak day. If you can't do it every day, at least reduce it by maybe 50% and 100% on Wesak day. Try not to look at any of these news. That will only The only good thing that will happen when you look at this news is that the only thing that will happen when you look at this news, I wouldn't say it's good, but I would say it just gives you more fear. So once you're fearing, so then when you fear, you create negative karma, and negative karma always has consequences, and we are stuck in this cycle of negative karma that will ensure that the virus will actually, the longevity of the virus depends on our collective fear. If we fear, if we hate, if we despise, we wish it away, chances are that it will stay for a longer time. But if we embrace it as it's there, we embrace our fears, we stop rumor mongering, we stop actually feeding and looking at the phone all the time and brooding over the coronavirus, and using that time instead to come back inside us. So this is the time that actually What our bosses couldn't give us, what our job couldn't give us, what our family life couldn't give us, now COVID-19 is giving us the opportunity to stay at home for most of us, yeah, who still haven't gone back to work. So most of us actually, who even have, even if some of you us have already gone back to work, we cannot go out for public gatherings. We cannot go to the cinema. We cannot go to the mall. So it's such a blessing, isn't it? Because that's exactly how we lived our lives. Whenever we have a little bit of time, we run away somewhere, always projecting our senses outside, always going for good food, good entertainment, friends. We always need somebody or something, an external thing to give us happiness. So now the COVID-19 has stopped all these public gatherings, including Wesak also. It has stopped us from going to the supermarket, I mean to shopping centers, than just doing window shopping. It has stopped us from doing many things that otherwise will actually waste our time. So what it has actually given us is actually the time to come back inside, to introspect. And this is exactly what the Buddha wanted us to do, to actually give up these wasteful ventures that we have always been chasing after. The Buddha never said that you shouldn't work. But then again, if we can't work and if we have nothing else to do, why not just come back inside? Because we all have Buddha nature. And if we want to actually be free from suffering, which is what the Buddha taught, which is the Noble Eightfold Path, the fourth noble truth, we all can be free from suffering, which is the third noble truth. There is no doubt about it. The Buddha wouldn't have taught about suffering, and Buddhism is not pessimistic. It doesn't say that it's only suffering and then we die with the suffering. No, the Buddha, no one can say that Buddhism is actually pessimistic. It's actually optimistic, because the first two noble truths actually tell us the problem, and then the third noble truth tells us that there is a way out of this suffering. There is a way to solve this problem. And the last noble truth is actually telling us what is the way. And we have three trainings, which is the training on Shila, which is to have good ethics. And then the second training is on Samadhi, which is actually concentration. And the third is wisdom, Prajna. So we have this threefold training, and we keep the five precepts, which is actually the sila, and then we have this samadhi, which we actually are supposed to be coming back inside, going into our minds, focusing on an object of meditation, and calming our thoughts, which we always projecting outside, so that our thoughts, our gross mind, can settle down and let our subtle mind actually surface. We can never see the truth, the reality of life with our gross mind, the mind that we go to work every day, the mind that we go shopping every day, buying new clothes every now and then. That kind of mind cannot attain enlightenment, because it is very coarse, it's hard, it's gross. So that is the reason why the Buddha said that even though we keep our five precepts, we still need to support it with going into samadhi. That means concentration. We need to make our thoughts very soft, very calm, very peaceful. And when our thoughts are settled down, our subtle, what they call that, mind surfaces, only then we can actually start to see the truth. If our mind is all over the place every day, like a monkey jumping up and down, we will never be able to see the truth. So that's the second training. Now the third training is the training on wisdom. If we are only doing shamatha meditation, which is sitting down and being peaceful and happy, then the best thing is that we will be reborn in the highest peak of existence, which is the realm of perception, neither perception nor non-perception. But we are still in samsara, and we will be there for a very long time to come. And when our karma, our good karma, is exhausted, we will end up in the lower realms. So how do we actually come out from this samsara? So the Buddha's two teachers, Alar Kalam and Udraka Ramaputta, could only teach him until the end of uh, to attain what they call that, the highest state of samadhi. But they did not actually teach him anything more than that. They did not teach him how to actually understand the reality of the world, only how to actually calm the thoughts and to attain very subtle states of mind, which are the jhanas. So what actually did the Buddha actually attain under the Bodhi tree in Bodh Gaya 2600 years ago? It is this vipassana, this knowledge, this insight that the Buddha actually attained on his own. So we cannot say that the Buddha actually did not have any teachers. He did have teachers who taught him how to sit in samadhi and attain the most subtle state of mind. But what do you do with that subtle state of mind? You need to reflect on impermanence, that nothing truly exists, everything is impermanent, which is now what we are going through, isn't it? Our whole lives are disrupted now. We are forced to think about change, isn't it? Because everything has changed. The new normal, things are going to change and things will never be the same again. So that is impermanent. We have to reflect on it. Now we are sitting at home, most of us having the time. Do your shamatha practices, breathe in and breathe out, and try to concentrate and gain the single pointed concentration as best as you can. No need to force. There's no goal to attain, just naturally. And the second thing that we are supposed to be doing is that try to reflect on the impermanence that have come to us, the whatever that we are experiencing now. You know, how life was 6 months ago and how life is today, or how life was 3 months ago, how life is today. So much has changed. Use this opportunity to reflect on the impermanence. And the second is, there is a lot of pain and suffering in this world, and the pain is not only the pain that we feel. Everything is actually pain. The very fact that we are in samsara is painful. Samsara is all pervasive, and change, impermanence, is also a sorrow, is also dukkha. So dukkha is not only when you're happy, it's not dukkha. Whenever you're smiling and watching TV and laughing, doesn't mean that there is no dukkha. Our body is changing all the time, dying. Our cells are dying all the time, and everything in this world is interconnected with us. If someone else is dying in a different part of the world, how can we be happy? It's actually because we are all interconnected. So the very fact that we are interconnected, that means that when I laugh today, somebody else who's connected to me is actually dying and suffering. So there is actually no real happiness, not even a single second of true happiness in samsara, but we think we are, because when we watch movies, when we play video games, when we start to look at our phone and talk, and we start to do a lot of entertainment, then we think that we are happy. That's a very shallow kind of happiness. But the reality is that underneath that happiness is nothing but suffering. And that is the first noble truth. So we have to reflect on impermanence. We have to reflect on suffering. That everything around us, everything is around us is suffering, because everything is impermanent and everything will change, and everything will rise, will remain for some time, and then it will cease. That is the nature of the life. That is the nature of all component things. So there is nothing for us to cling on to. Every single happiness will sooner or later turn into suffering. If we eat a beginning, if we have something that we like, let's say for example, if I like ice cream, if you give me ice cream, I will eat one or two ice cream, and then you say, okay, no, you have to sit and eat ice cream the whole day. What initially was happiness for me will turn into unhappiness, because I'll start to vomit. I can't eat so much of ice cream, and then after that I'll get a stomach pain. So if eating ice cream is true happiness, then why after eating so much of ice cream we will start to suffer? So which means that underneath every single pleasure is nothing but pain. So we have to understand that that is vipassana. And then once we go into impermanence and dukkha, there's another thing that we have to understand, that there is no such thing as a truly existing self. We are interdependent. There is no such thing as venerable karma. If you break me up into pieces, you can never find me. Where am I? Am I just a space? Where is this voice coming from? Dr. Karma is made up of non-Dr. Karma elements. Karma is made up of non-karma elements. Venerable karma is made up of non-venerable karma elements, which means the whole world is inside me. The sun, the rain, and my parents, my teachers, all those who have touched my life, they're all inside me. So if I were to ask you, someone were to say, you, Dr. Karma, please take out all your materials, all your five, what they call that, five elements and the five aggregates, and return it to the place of origin. How can I do that? How can I return my energy back to the sun? How can I return my blood back to the to the rain? How can I return my knowledge back to my teachers? Everything is from everybody else. I'm just a recycled being, and I'm made of everything else on this earth. I'm empty of my own existence. That means inherently I do not exist on my own. There is no Dr. Karma who is permanent, who is unitary. That means I cannot be broken up into pieces. There's no such thing. And there's no such thing as Dr. Karma who is not dependent on anything. I'm dependent on everybody else. That's why I'm here. And once that dependency changes, then I may not be here anymore. I'll change into something else. I'll cease to exist in this form. But I will always be in this universe in one form or another. So we cling to the idea of a permanent self. So that is the teaching of anatta. And if you look at it in the lens of shunyata, which is deeper, you'll understand that there's nothing in this world that truly exists. Everything exists according to causes and conditions. Every flower is actually made up of non-flower elements. Everyone is made up of uh, the Buddha is made up of non-Buddha elements. The Dharma is made up of non-Dharma elements. Everything is made up of everything else. If I were to say that the cup is empty, but it is empty of water, for example, but it's still full of air and everything else. So emptiness is relative because we are empty of our own existence, but we are full of everything else in this universe. So that is how we should actually reflect on Vipassana. So now that we have the time, the opportunity, nature, the virus isn't so bad as we think. It is bad, yes, it's giving us, in a way, taking our lives and changing our lives. But at the same time, it's also giving us the opportunity to reflect. It's actually giving us the renunciation that Prince Siddhartha, that great sense of renunciation that I need, that it has hit us very hard, that I need to change. If I were to go on like this forever, I will be stuck in samsara forever, nothing, and I will just come back again and again into this world to suffer more and more. That is the teaching that the Buddha gave under the Bodhi tree 2600 years ago. And if we really want to thank the Buddha for the miracle that he has given us, the path, the Dharma, then we will use this opportunity to practice, because death is for sure. And we cannot say that, when we will die. We can even die at this moment, or that somebody else will die, but it's never me, or I will die later. But how many of those people who said that they will die later, how many of those people are still here, which means that this 100 years ago everybody would have said that I will die later. But those people who were alive 100 years ago, they are not here anymore. All the arhants have gone, all the great kings have gone, the Buddha has gone. So we too will go. But how will we exit this world? Will we exit this world being ignorant as we came in? Or will we exit this world after receiving the teachings of the Buddha? We are so fortunate that the Buddha's teachings are still here. After receiving the teachings, after practicing the teachings, and if nothing ever changes in our minds, then are we prepared to come back again and suffer? So that is the question that I would like to ask you, and I would like to end this with just uh, a little bit of request that today is Wesak Day, the first time in collective memory that we are celebrating it online in our homes. So use this opportunity to go back inside your heart and find the Buddha within. And because Vesak Day is not about lighting candle in the temples, or not about enjoying with our friends. Vesak Day is actually remembering the kindness of our teacher, who struggled so hard to find the path for us, and all we need to do is just walk on the path. So why don't we do it? Why wait until it's too late? So with this, dedicate the merits. Shanam diye pamche zipanye thupne ne pe danam pamje ne ke gana che bala trupaye zipe sole dowa rosho. May all beings be well and happy. Happy Vesak. And may all of you attain enlightenment at the earliest opportunity.